Greetings and welcome to step 14 of our Awakening in 30 Steps. Today's contemplation is on renunciation. Renunciation. Another beautiful word following our contemplation on suffering yesterday. Believe me, it will get a lot better once we get into the next series of contemplations. All of this will start to take a much more heartfelt and warming sensibility on us, but we have to do the hard work first. We have to get through the mud and the mire in order to really enjoy the full lotus. So please stay with me. Today's contemplation on renunciation, what I want to do is put it in context and to really congratulate you, because in a way you have made it to the first milestone. Just imagine that we're on a trek together. We're on the gradual path. We may be ascending to a mountaintop. Of course, the mountaintop metaphorically is the full-blown, full-fledged awakening. But it is a gradual process, so it's not like it's all or nothing. When we get there, then we'll awaken. It's more like as we go along the path, we're slowly awakening, and by the time we get to the summit, by virtue of all the work that we've done to get there, we would have fully arrived. And so this is in my estimation, a much nicer, much more approachable way to appreciate the spiritual practice and the spiritual path. It isn't a zero-sum game. It's a slow and gradual process of incremental realizations. And so there are steps and there are milestones in our ascension to the summit. There are steps leading to milestones, and of course in the 14 verses of Lama Tsongkhapa's 3 principles of the path, which I use as the main structure for gradual awakening, there are 3 milestones on the journey, which means all the other stages are steps. They're basically one insight following another, until they kind of accumulate into a milestone. And you could stop at the milestone, and that would be enough in a way, and you can enjoy the vista, and you can take a nice breather, and then you can continue on. And so today, congratulations, you've made it to your first milestone. And how do we get there? Well, if we look back now, we can do a quick review. Are you keeping up with your memorization? The first 6 steps, if you recall, comprised our visualization encounter with the mentor, the archetypal mentor. They had to do with clean and tidy the space, create a sacred space, set up an altar and make offerings, adjust your motivation and posture, evoke the jewel tree and the mentor, go through the 7-fold bonding process, and then make a mandala. And then, of course, in that 5th step, we had 7 sub-steps of the mentor bonding process, which included, of course, admire, then offer, disclose, rejoice, request the blessing, request presence, and dedicate. Then we moved out of the visualization context into life, and off in another way, off the mat and into life or into the world. And we looked at the qualities of the mentor and the qualities of the student to create a firm, mutually agreeable and optimal relationship. Then we started the Lam Rim steps, and the first step, of course, was the preciousness of human life, which was followed with death. Then we took refuge, and then we went into karma, and then we went into the defects of samsara. And all of that, these last 6 steps, comprise a kind of teaching that's called 4 thoughts for turning the mind. Now, in some places, it's called 4 thoughts for turning the mind away from samsara, and in other places, it's called 4 thoughts for turning the mind towards the Dharma. In other words, 4 thoughts that help you turn away from compulsive life versus 4 thoughts that turn your mind towards reality as it is. So what were the 4 thoughts? Preciousness of human life and death, and then karma and the defects of samsara. These are considered the four main contemplations, but interspersed in there, like a little bit of cream between 2 Oreo cookies, is refuge, and then it culminates in the first milestone, renunciation, which is today's post. So there you have it. There's a little bit of a review and a little bit of a context and a little bit of a congratulations for making it all the way to step 14, renunciation. Now, renunciation has a very misleading term. It has a lot of negative connotations and associations. If you've been around spirituality, many of you I notice are into yoga. You probably know of the sadhus of India. These are, Hinduism's renunciates, Hinduism's ascetics. They're usually often scantily clad in loincloth and nothing else. They have dreadlocks. They like to smoke a chillum. They have left the world. They're smeared in cremation ash, and they do most of their pujas and practices in severe situations, near fires, in isolation, never owning a home, have completely renounced the world. And this is where the main connotation of renunciation really comes in. The spiritual person who has left the world, left identity, left family, left job, left money making, left all the trappings of the worldly life, and has gone to seek moksha, the liberation from samsara, a world apart, another world. And of course, they look like aliens. I mean, if you go hang out in Varanasi, you'll see, although some of them have become quite commercial in their own way, charging this and that for a photograph. But nonetheless, this is not the renunciation that's meaningful on the gradual path. In fact, in Gradual Awakening, I tried to rebrand renunciation into a different kind of word. So let me spell out the two more accurate depictions or characteristics or quality of renunciation, and you can choose which is more meaningful for you. There is the turning away from samsara, which is to renounce samsara, not to renounce the world. And what is samsara? Samsara is the compulsive way of living. To turn the mind away from compulsive habits that create misery. So another way to think about renunciation is to completely disrupt our cycles of stress and trauma. Completely disrupt, not just temporarily. Completely disrupt them. So preciousness of human life gives you a sense of appreciation. I have a miracle. Death helps you see that the miracle won't last. Use it now. Karma shows you have actually agency. You've accumulated a vast amount of negative influence and momentum, but you also have agency now to begin to work with it. So purify the negative, cultivate the virtuous, steer the ship of evolution. And then the last reflection, the last post that we did yesterday, I didn't have a chance to talk about my chicken nugget. My chicken nugget contemplation. So most of you, probably are kind of sick of the suffering lists, and I tried to really point out what the point of it is. Really, the pith of the reflection on the defects of samsara is to create a kind of disgust or disinterest. And the analogy or the metaphor or the story I like to tell you is that at one point in your life, you used to gobble down, the 15-pack of chicken nuggets or the 26-pack or whatever it is in our big gulp society, our mindfulness society. Whatever it was, you gobbled them down. You had all the sauces, and you were quite content with your chicken nugget eating habits until one day, by whatever virtue, you discovered what was in a chicken nugget. And the minute you discovered what was in a chicken nugget, that was the last one you ate. No more chicken nuggets. Once you understand its nature, it creates disgust or disinterest or dispassion or renunciation. That's my last chicken nugget. Maybe you went vegan after that. Maybe you never had a pink slime McDonald's after that. This is the same in the spiritual thing, in the spiritual path. They have two choices. You can look at the con side, the negative side of things, until you really feel very, very strongly that you don't want to live this blind way anymore, pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain and bumping into this and bumping into that and being thrown this way and being thrown that way, and the tireless vicissitudes and all the lists of the 6 reflections we did in the last post. So renunciation can simply mean like End the blind seeking on the hamster wheel. Get off the hamster wheel. Become so disgusted with the hamster wheel that you no longer want to live this way. You are well motivated for an alternative. But there's another way of putting it, of course, which is, turn away from samsara, turn towards Dharma. The reflections that help turn your mind towards Dharma is a little bit more palatable for some of us, a little bit softer. And it just might depend on your temperament. Like, do you need like the Zen stick to wake you up, or do you need like, the tea ceremony to gently ease you into a more mindful approach to life? And so the way that I rebranded it in Gradual Awakening, this idea of renunciation, comes from actually the Tibetan word nejang. I think it's nejang. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which is the Tibetan word for renunciation, but actually means definite emergence. Definite emergence. To emerge from, to rise above, to go beyond. Definitely. If you have finally worked your way through this series of reflections and arrived at the first milestone of renunciation, you have a very strong mindset that is a determination to be free, to emerge definitely from the cycles of unconscious stress and trauma. A mindset determined to be free. Wow. So if you're determined to be free of your own cycles of stress and trauma, isn't it the case that you are practicing self-love and self-care? And that's how I rebranded renunciation. It's not the spiritual smeared ash of the renunciate. It's not even the more accurate alternative, which is not to leave the world, but to leave behind, to illuminate and disrupt your own cycles. But it is to practice the most optimal self-care. To love yourself so much, that you no longer want to suffer. You would be willing to do anything it takes not to let this sentient life suffer, even a single moment. To love yourself so much. Now, self-care and self-love have made our way, rightfully so, into our culture, but they mean more of the temporary types or varieties. Self-care, just write a list of self-care, your coping strategies for self-care. They include hot baths and green juices and massages and trips here to relax. And don't get me wrong, I love all that. And I take advantage of all those things. Those are the temporary self-cares that get you through the week or through the month or through the year, especially during the pandemic year. The day trip to the spa. But the ultimate act of self-care is to finally, once and for all, disrupt the cycles of stress and trauma by uprooting the primary cause. And once the primary root cause is there, there's no more suffering. And so you can see how if you made it to this milestone, renunciation, definite emergence, evolutionary self-care, you have completely disrupted your own personal cycles of stress and trauma. You have set your mind on determining to use the preciousness of human life, which could be lost at any moment, and to activate your agency and to no longer allow yourself to be compelled by the 6 types of suffering or the 3 types of suffering or the 10 types of suffering, whatever the list is, and to seek liberation now. That would characterize where we have reached on our gradual path together. Step 14 of our 30 steps, renunciation, evolutionary self-care. Thank you for joining me. So far, so good. I've really, really enjoyed your posts and your reflections and some of your images, and also the way that you're interacting with each other. I think we are so far making good use of social media. So I look forward to continuing on the rest of the journey. For now, all best wishes.